Good morning. Today we are going to talk about economic systems and the allocation of resources. What's meant by economic system? Economic system is a system of production and the exchange of goods and services, as well as allocation of resources in a society. So, economic system means system of production and the allocation of resources. Worldwide, there are three different types of economic systems. Number one, command economy. Number two, market economy. And number three, mixed economy. In command economy, the economy is controlled by the government or the central power. This means that the government is going to be responsible for determining what are the commodities that will be produced in this country, how to produce it, how to distribute it. Ownership of factors of production is owned by the government, and so on. What about market economy is known as capitalism. Capitalism or market economy is market which is um, determined by, or goods and services in this market are going to be determined by market forces, demand and supply forces. So the market forces will identify what are the products to be produced, how to produce these products, how to distribute them, and so on. Mixed economy. It's a mixture of command and market economy, as there are some activities that are controlled by the government while others are based on market forces. There are three main economic questions each country would like to answer, which are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom. We would like to answer these three questions for the three types of economic systems. Just like comparison between the three sectors, the three systems: what, how, and for whom. With respect to planned or command the economy. What to produce is determined by government. How to produce is determined by government. For whom to produce is determined by government. With respect to market economy, how to produce is determined by individuals. So what to produce is determined based on human needs. I would like to buy this commodity, so I'm going to demand it. So suppliers are going to take this decision to produce my product. How is determined by individuals. Producers are going to determine the machine or the tools or the resources that will be used in the production. And finally, for whom is determined by individuals as well. What about the mixed economy? In case of a mixed economy, what to produce is going to be determined by individuals and government. As some of the transactions are going to be based on individual decision, and while others are going to be based on government decision. And the same for how individuals and government, and for whom individuals and government. The commonly used system around the world is a mixed economy with different degrees, which means that government and individuals are not going to be or to share resources equally. It will be different from one country to another. So now we are going to talk about the allocation of resources between government and the private sector in a mixed economy. So we are going to focus mainly on mixed economy, not command and market economy. Government would like to provide goods and services. That requires labor, capital, and land. At the same time, private sector would like to provide goods and services. That require labor, capital, and land. So government and private sector would like to use labor, land, and capital. So how to distribute these resources among the two sectors? The government is going to compete with the private sector and hide and hinder their ability or their power to buy the products. How? Through taxes. The government is going to impose taxes on individuals. Individuals are going to pay these taxes. So their ability to purchase goods and services is going to decrease. Their ability to produce goods and services is going to decrease, and so on. But the government is going to use this money income to buy or to produce goods and services. Okay, to provide social security and so on. So there is a trade-off between government and the private goods and services. This can be illustrated graphically using production possibilities frontier. Production possibilities frontier shows different combinations of two commodities that can be produced using a given amount of resources. So in our example, we are going to talk about public goods as a block, as a commodity, okay, and private goods. And we would like to distribute resources between production of these two commodities, these two groups of commodities. Okay, so PPF will shows the different combinations of public goods and the private goods that can be produced using a given amount of resources. Any point inside PPF can be produced, but it's not sufficient. But it is not efficient. It's an inefficient point. So it is attainable, which means that you can produce this commodity, and inefficient, which means that you are inefficient in the production or you haven't used all your resources. Any point along the curve is attainable, which means that you can produce, and efficient, which means that there is no waste in resources. Any point outside is unattainable as you do not have enough resources to produce. BBF represents the idea of trade-off as if you are going to move from point A to point B along the curve, so you are going to increase production of of public goods from X1 to X2 and decrease production of private goods from Y1 to Y2. So this is the idea of trade-off. If you would like to increase X, you have to give up Y and vice versa. PPF shows the maximum amount that can be produced of the two commodities. If you are going to devote all our resources to the production of public goods, you can produce M, for example. If you are going to devote all your resources to the production of private goods and zero public goods, so you can produce N. So PPF shows the maximum production, the maximum amount that can be produced of the two commodities, private goods and public goods. With respect to the private sector, the distribution of goods and services among citizens is going to be determined by the market forces. Or in other words, prices are going to be determined based on market forces, and individuals are going to decide whether to buy this product or not. What about the government? How the government is going to distribute goods and services among individuals? Actually, government is going to distribute goods and services through the use of non-market rationing, which means that goods and services, government goods and services, are made available to persons according to their willingness to pay. Sorry, are not made available to people according to their willingness to pay. And their use is not rationed by price. Actually, the quantity of goods and services that's going to be produced by the government or the distribution, it's not going to be based on the needs or the willingness or the ability of the consumers to buy or to pay for this product. For example, military force. The government is going to produce military force. Do you think anyone is going to buy it? No. Actually, no. Anyone is going to pay for these services to be provided for him? No. So it is a non-market rationing. It is a decision that's not based on willingness or ability. What about the circular flow of goods and services in case of a market economy? Sorry, in case of a mixed economy. Let's assume that our economy consists of three main sectors, which means that our economy is a closed economy but has a government. They are household, government, and firms. There are two types of markets, and we are going to neglect the financial market. So, goods and services market and factor market. Household would like to find a job so they can provide their services of factors of production to the factor market, who could find a job or allocate these resources to the firms, and they get return of factors of production in return. Firms are going to pay taxes for the government, and they can get subsidies from the government. Also, they can get government services. And the same for household. They are going to pay taxes and they are going to get government services and income support. Government is going to provide goods and services, or so government is going to provide goods and services to firms and households, and provide subsidies for firms and income support for household, and they are going to get taxes in return. What about the goods and services market? In order for the government to provide goods and services, they are going to buy goods and services from the goods and services market, and they are going to pay prices in return. Firms are going to use factors of production, both from factors of production market, in order to produce goods and services and distribute them through goods and services market. And they are going to get the prices in return. Households are going to use their income received from factors market to buy goods and services from goods and services market. And we are going to pay the price in return. And this is known as circular flow in a mixed economy. Mixed economy consists of three sectors, or mixed closed economy. This is the end of our lecture today. Thank you. See you next week.